Hey, everybody. Hello, hello. Good evening to everybody. Welcome to Blockchain Chat. Hope you all are doing well today.
Hello.
Hey, Talisha. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Pretty good, thanks. So we want to say hello. Hello, Eric.
Hey, Sheree, Alicia, how y'all doing today?
Pretty good. How are
Doing
you?
pretty good, thank you.
Great.
So we have a special guest coming tonight. We usually get started about 7:33, so everybody you have a chance to get your beverage of choice, maybe a little bit of dinner. Tonight's conversation should be fun.
I have instructions to ask certain questions. My daughter's at practice and she's like, you have to ask her this. I was like, oh, okay. Text me.
Okay.
I know, right?
Well, we shall yield the floor to the questions that you have been pre-assigned to ask.
I'm about to say, y'all don't want to see me beat up tomorrow or something. I didn't ask the right questions.
All righty then. All right. Everybody put your city and state in the chat for us so that we know where you're coming from. We're officially live here in Zoom and on YouTube. We got Ohio in the house. Hey, Denise. Talk to you tomorrow, girl. Trinity here from Queens. Put your city and state in the chat so we can recognize you. I will also make an announcement that I had at 6:30, I had a phone call with two people who are entrenched heavily in crypto, and they are looking to set up a company where, well, they already have their company set up, but they're looking to help more Black people on board with regards to buying crypto. So when we had the discussion, I said, you really need some people to hold people by the hand, either one-on-one or in small groups like we did. So if you are in our Discord group, I did post their emails so that you're able to reach out to them. These would be paid engagements. Basically, they have people who want to buy crypto but don't know anything, all the way up to people who do know something and they want things that are more advanced. But for the purpose of this conversation, if you can help them set up a Coinbase account, you can help them determine the best wallets, and things like that. This could be something for you to make a little side change, start a little side hustle doing this. So, hey, Tobbs from Cameroon, blockchain developer. You definitely need to be in our Discord. I had a couple of people ask for a blockchain developer this week, so definitely be in Discord. Hello, Kimberly in YouTube in California. Tripolar from Dallas, Texas. Good to see you all as well. Maria from Philly. Hello. I'm surprised Bettina isn't here yet. Maybe I should check the attendees. She's here. Yes.
Yep.
That was my fault. I didn't bring her up. Okay. Perfect. And it's 7:33 officially, so if it's Wednesday, it's blockchain day. Oh, hold on, I gotta record. Sorry again. Hey everybody, if it's Wednesday, it's blockchain day, so welcome to Blockchain Chat. We've got a special guest in the house, Bettina. She doesn't go by a last name. Like Beyonce.
Beyonce.
Right. She is the Beyonce. Yes.
I'm the Beyonce or the Daft Punk of blockchain. That's what I call myself.
Daft Punk. I love that. I love that. So she contacted me. Bettina was here a couple of years ago talking about UI UX, which is user interface, user exchange. And she came back to me and said, hey, there have been a lot of updates. Can I come back and talk to the group? And I said, of course, come on through. So we're so happy to have her here today. And tonight's discussion, I am super excited about because this is an aspect of blockchain that we don't talk about as much. So you are in the right place if you are here for the business of blockchain. So just really quickly, what is Black Blockchain Consultants? We are a group of people who come together to talk about blockchain and the business of blockchain. More importantly, we want to help Black people discover blockchain careers, start blockchain-based businesses, invest in blockchain projects, whether investing time or money into a project. And ultimately, we want more Black people to build wealth in this $3.1 trillion industry that is forthcoming. We talk about this every week. Mainstream adoption is coming, and this is where the billionaires and the multimillionaires are going to be made. This second chasm here, this is the big one. Bettina, I'm sure, will talk a little bit about that this evening as she talks about user interface and user experience. But if you want to get on the trajectory before the early majority comes in, and even the late majority, there's going to be a lot of money made, then you want to be a part of Black Blockchain Consultants and our Discord group. So yes, we've got the tokenization maximalist here, Mr. Eric Spence. We've got Talisha here. She is the one that is about the tech. I'm about the business of blockchain, but we geek out over tokenization, smart contracts, and blockchain security. In fact, in our Discord channel earlier today, I posted something that I read, and it started quite the discussion in the Discord group. So you all have to go and check that out. So Bettina is here today, and then next week is our official last blockchain chat that we are going to have. Also, don't forget, next Monday, March 29th, Deloitte Consulting is coming. The gentleman, Brendan, wants to meet with Black professionals in the blockchain space. So if you are a member of BBC, then you should have already gotten your invite. If not, then email me at info@blackblockchainconsultants.com to make sure that you are there, you're able to get in the building. So finally, if you want to take one of our courses, we've got Blockchain 101, all sorts of other courses that are available. It's at blockchainstudies.tech. And if you want to join us in Discord, this is free for you to join us in Discord, be a part of the conversation. You go to blackblockchainconsultants.com and it should pull up our Discord channel. So with that, Alicia, tell us who you are. Introduce yourself, please.
I'm Talisha Shine. I am an Inner Circle member, founding member of the Black Blockchain Consultants, and I am the tech advisor here. So I do talk a lot about the tech, but as Ms. Cherie always says, we talk about business because business always precedes the tech.
Absolutely. And Eric?
Yes, Eric Spence, also an Inner Circle member here, tokenization maximalist, as Cherie called me earlier, because that's it. That's how I believe. I believe that that application of blockchain is going to give us flexibility that we have never seen before. And I do believe in the concept of the tokenization of the world. I believe that that will happen in our lifetime. So that's it. Excited here to be with Miss Bettina. Looking forward to it.
We're all excited that you're here.
We're all excited.
I'm really
We've been
excited.
happy you up.
I'm glad to hear.
Yeah. So we're just going to give you the floor. Tell us about yourself. You said you had some updates. I'm just going to let you talk for 15, 20 minutes, and then we can start Q&A. Does that work?
Sure. I do have a presentation. I think that will be very helpful because from what I'm seeing is that, we do a lot of talks, right? But most people don't realize that there is, people are visual, readers, visual learners, right? And so I thought I'll show you guys a presentation of what I thought, something very simple that I've been noticing that's repeated in the space. So as you all know, I do go by one name, BETTNA, and I, call myself the Daft Punk of blockchain. So I am the founder, experience director of Bettymedia, and it's a design agency that has delivered work for IBM, City, Kino Film Festival, including Grid Boxing, the first crypto fitness studio, backed by Pitbull and Tim Draper, as you all know. And so what we do is we conduct a research and education on UX in blockchain and crypto for mass adoption. And so with an emphasis on user security, privacy, and accessibility of open blockchain for true self-custodial and financial well-being. And my past experience, before I got into blockchain, about around maybe 2016, 2017, actually I worked in finance. I was a financial analyst. And so I had worked for the Lehman Brothers, JP Morgan, Credit Suisse, you name it. And so I had that experience, but I left that world and I decided to go back to school. Just so you know, went through so many phases of my career because I actually was a figure skater when I was a teenager for over 10 years. And just recently I was like, I saw, Tina Turner, documentary, and I was like, oh my God, I have this, I can't believe this, because she's been a great inspiration for me, right? And why I'm bringing this up is because like a lot of things has happened to me the last few years, and health wise, and she's been dealing with health wise, and so and one of her great lines from her song from Proud Mary is, in the very beginning is, we're going to take it easy and slow and hard. And this is what I'm going to try to do. And that's why I'm wearing my Tina Turner hair and wig.
Inspired.
Yes. And because I actually removed my braids and I was like, screw it. I'm going to wear my Tina Turner wig and do this. But anyway, so this is why I came on. I wanted to contact you guys because the last few years, what we've been doing is really extensive research. I think doing COVID, this allowed us to really analyze what was going on, slow down, because I was going to conferences and we were like just all over the place, right? I think as many of us. And so what we did was like, we just slow down. I have a team of collective designers and strategists and researchers and investors. We talk about everything all in regards to UX, blockchain, and investing, and how to create mass adoption. One of the things I've noticed that the rhetoric within the space, as you can see, is, it goes in a lot of people's over their heads. And one of the problem is it's not being simplified enough. And what has happened is that we're kind of, telling, regular folks, Black and brown people, oh, get on Coinbase, to start, getting on crypto. But what many don't seem to realize, we're kind of reverting back to past behavior.
Yes.
And so not realizing that, okay, what can we do to educate the users? How do we simplify that? Because the problem is, yes, Coinbase of the world, the Geminis of the world, they have been, a great platforms for people to introduce themselves to crypto. But at the end of the day, it's not real. It's not empowering users enough, because, you talk about the technology, right? There's the conversation of centralization versus decentralization, custodial versus non-custodial. And what's happened is that all of us, well, including me in the earlier days, I was telling everyone to go to Coinbase, Then when I started educating myself on how to, start, applying crypto into my business, how to adapt and live off crypto, because I've actually, studied users, like really real users who live on crypto. And what I had to do is ask them specific questions, go step by step. Again, many things we're not talking about, but in the tech world, the developers are talking about, but in mass media, something completely different.
Mhm.
And so I'll share can I share my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, I set it up so you can share it.
Oh, okay. So do I go to, share, perfect.
Yeah.
I haven't been on this. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. And so let's start with the slideshow. Financial self-custody is extremely important. It matters. We talk a good game about, sorry, it's slow. So it's like going fast. And so what's going on is we're talking about inclusion and diversity and equity in the space, but it's not happening. And the issue is that you have KYC and AML, which is understandable. We're not stupid. I'm in design, and I went to school where we were taught design ethics. And one of the rules in the American Society, AIGA, and the Canadian Graphic Design Association is one of the things is we have to follow the laws. But also we shouldn't be harming users too, right? And we shouldn't be, we should be helping businesses. So all these things, there's design ethics that we do follow. So it's understandable that the KYC exists, but problem is it was placed for financial exclusion. Let's just be real about it. It's, and one of the things is that we're pushing a lot of users into centralized system that happens to be easier to hack. I'm always concerned about, Coinbase having all these users in one address, and what if they don't have their private keys? And so right now, blockchain really needs people who can, who are policymakers, right? But who needs to start talking about the revision of outdated laws? It's not working. You can have a beautiful app, you can have a beautiful interface, but at the end of the day, you're still going back to the same old behavior. It's not happening with, inclusion's not going to happen without these laws being revised. That's just, and I'll explain a perfect example. So I'm in talk with a company that's trying to, launch a CDBD. Mm-hmm. Right? And one of the problems is that, they want to launch it in the Caribbean, right? So one country that happens to be in the Caribbean is Cuba. Does that get included? Turns out I'm Haitian, by the way. I'm Haitian descent. And most people don't know, only Haitians, that there are over 300 to 500,000 Haitians that live in Cuba. And they are our biggest trading partners. Mm. And we do a lot of, they do a lot of businesses in Haiti and vice versa. So do they get included? That's not, And so another thing I'm seeing in the space is accessibility is not there. Yes. And I came upon this, I I mean, it's my fault. It's many of us a fault. The visually impaired. And so it turns out there is, nodes that help visual impaired, but I haven't tested it yet. I haven't checked. I just found out about it recently because someone was asking about it on Clubhouse, from what I heard. What about the visually impaired? This is important because 5% of the world have a disability or visually impaired or hearing, impaired. So this is important. That's in the billions now. And that's growing, especially as the aging population is happening. The next one is the most important. We have different terminology, like definition of what privacy means. And users have their own, version of that. And one of my things that I'm concerned about is the amount of information that users are being asked to give out. And the problem is that, again, hackers and potential bad actors in the space. And there are good use case. The good use case happens to be Estonia. Estonia was hacked in 2007, and President Tuomas Hendrik Ilves, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, decided to decentralize his country. That's it. Russia allegedly had cyber attacked everything from their government, their healthcare system, education, everything. They couldn't do anything back in 2007. And so they decided, that's it, we're going to decentralize. And what they did was they placed servers all around the world. If something happens to them, they still have the content, they still can access. Now, the great thing that they did was they were like, we're not going to have users' information anymore. We're not going to control that. The users are. So just this week, there was a news article in Estonia where a police officer, is dating a woman he's about to marry, and he accessed the database to try to find out about her. And guess what? He got fined. Oh yeah, this is serious. Even a cop can't go into the system. So
wait a minute, is he still getting married though?
I have no idea, but and I posted it on LinkedIn, so which you can see. It's pretty interesting. And doctors, like, if they want to access the healthcare information, they have to ask the user. They can't just go in. And so, but this is an example. So there are real use case that we can look at, that we can learn from other countries, but in the States, it's not happening, right? And so that's where we can come in as UX experts. We have to hold ourselves accountable, and that's why I contacted you guys. I do apologize of what I may have said in regards to UX in the past. I think the fact that we haven't been really honest of what's happening. And I understand that businesses have goals to meet, but potentially in long term, what we're seeing is that it's harming users. Similarly to what a lot of UX folks and founders saw in Facebook, early on. They stated and spoke up, and I too am speaking up on it. And there's a lack of research going on. We're building, but we're not researching the past. And so we also have to remember technology is a tool. It's not a fix-all. It's just like a car. But I've stated in the past where, yes, users have to understand the technology. What I mean by that is, it's just like a car. You have a car, you don't know how to build it. You're not a car builder, but you do know how to tune it, change the wheel, charge it up, to maintain the car for it to not die, right? Because it's going to be expensive in the long run if you don't do those little things. And so we in the space have to really teach users the proper way of what are the differences between the wallets, the keys, and the verification systems that that they can do themselves. And so oftentimes the users always ask, first, a newbie, how do I get into crypto, right? That's the first question they ask. I tell them now, ask 3 questions for yourself. How good am I in maintaining and managing several of my passwords? My cousin, every time I'm helping her with her homework, she's a nurse, she can't remember all of her, I'm like, we have to get the homework done. She can't remember her Gmail account. She can't remember her Yahoo. Like, get yourself a password management, right? And so, but this reminded me, I was like, oh my God, how many people are like this? If they can't remember their passwords, can you imagine they can't, how are they gonna remember passwords and keys for crypto, right? So they need to ask themselves that question. The second one is, do I prefer a bank or someone else handling my money? Not everyone is comfortable in handling money.
Yeah, especially in the Black community,
and I'll
we have a
explain
distrust.
why. Yeah, I'll explain why for that, right? And so the third one is, am I comfortable in learning new technology, right? But before people get into crypto, people have to understand which wallet, right? Cold versus hot, right? So we talked about web apps, right? And these web apps, are easy. That's the thing. They're so easy, but the problem is the users don't have their private keys. It's too centralized, right? And so at the end of the day, most of the time when something happens where, oh my God, missing crypto, it's usually happening internally. Let's just be real.
Yes, it is.
It's happening.
It's happening on the exchanges. So that's where, again,
exactly
where they keep saying this thing, and that's what they don't know where the thing is. And the exchange is it's a marketplace. You buy something, you take it home with you. You don't leave it at the store.
At the store, exactly. And so the next one is web apps and the non-custodial ones, right? There are great ones. Now, just so everybody is clear, I'm not endorsing these products. These are products that I'm testing. I've tested. I've asked other, experienced crypto, whales. These are guys who are really in it, and these are the apps that they use, the non-custodial apps. So I'm not endorsing any company. They're not paying me. And again, these are apps that people can choose from, that they can explore, and that I want, it would be a great way for them to understand and learn what the differences are. And so these are the 3. Now, Samurai is only on Android. It's full on privacy, you name it. Bread happens to be in Switzerland. So I don't know if, certain users in North America may not be able to access. You can try it. I'm familiar with Edge. Some of you may know Edge. Edge is very popular. And so in regards to the keys, it comes down to that private key. The easy commercial custodial exchanges hold the keys. And you may have heard about not your keys, not your crypto. There was a case last year that solidified that proved it. Archer this gentleman basically, owned Bitcoin, and he wanted to obtain Bitcoin Gold, another crypto. And so basically, Coinbase said no. Then the court said, well, they have every right to. This is their terms. This is their platform. And then a crypto lawyer said, this is proof that, again, not your keys, not your crypto. Because he can't access Bitcoin Gold. And so to get full control and security and privacy to users, they have to understand the hardware, the different types of hardwares. And it seems like I've noticed that there's a division. There's not a discussion of the hardwares when we're talking in the mainstream, right? The ledger, the Trezor, the cold cards, right? And Cobalt Vault is the new one, which does fingerprint authentication. And also, from what I understand, there's like a little device that basically helps you manage your seeds. I haven't tested it, but it's the new latest hot non-custodial hardware. So definitely check it out. There are videos on it. It's pretty impressive. So the space is advancing, but again, for mass adoption to happen, people have to know that these products do exist for them to explore.
Yes.
And so how do I, sometimes they ask, how do I know this is legit? I say, forget about trust. You have to verify. And how to do that, they have to run a node. The problem is there's a steep learning curve of running these nodes. I'm trying it myself for my business. It was very difficult to try to find developers who would just simplify it for me. Now, there are tutorials online. Until I get the handle of it, I will put out a tutorial. But it is a steep learning curve. Some are easy, as Tina Turner says, hard as AF. Right? And Raspberry Pi is the cheapest. Lightning in a box is very popular because it has that layer.
Has the application.
The layer application, so it helps the speed of the process of Bitcoin. So for people who are asking, oh my God, how to speed it up, this is it. And when you verify, it allows you to know that this is your keys, this is your coin, that you own your private keys, you have your seed, your public key, everything, right? And so I started looking into key management systems. And Andreas Antonopoulos had listed a couple of them. So if you want to email me, if you don't know, you can email me at hello@bettymedia.com. I've been listing and trying and testing a couple of key management systems. This one is pretty interesting because it's like a little bit of a puzzle piece, but hey, why not try it and see? You can go to Google and check out CryptoSteel. It may work for you or it may not. And so how do I get crypto is one of the biggest things. And yes, today, Samson said, how do we combat Black unemployment? How do we combat, wealth disparity? How do we combat people not being able to pay their bills, food? They can get a job in crypto, in blockchain. Right now, there's like tons of jobs being put out. Now, here's one thing you should remember. This is my advice. As a business owner, I do the same thing too. I'll ask for half of fiat just so I can stay afloat to make pay things. But again, the other half would be crypto.
Mm-hmm.
If you work for a company, who's not in crypto, you can actually start, there's a company called Bitwage. I haven't used them, but you can check out their platform. You can ask your employer to set money aside and send it to Bitwage. And what it is that you can get, you can invest. It's kind of like going into your brokerage. You set your money to the brokerage firm, and you use, you put your money to the side. You can do that. You can purchase a crypto like that, get a job, get on some platforms that will set your pay aside. You can accept it. In Africa, I'm noticing a lot of Africans started using like the QR code.
Yes.
I just recently saw a video of this. This was hilarious. Now, I don't know if it was a crypto, because it could be a payment system that she was, or Cash App version of in Africa. But this is a perfect example. You can start accepting it. If you go to a shop, hey, do you accept Bitcoin? Or if you run a business, you can start accepting it. You can mine it. That's the most expensive part. Right now, there's a massive situation with mining. As some of you may know, the situation with the chips, the video cards, the technology.
Yes.
Right now, there is a massive,
Shortage.
And so I would suggest, be aware. But if you want to invest in, you can get rewarded. Now, the next one this is the best one, I think. There are companies who are offering ways to shop and get rewarded Bitcoin. So if you're going to purchase pizza for the night, maybe check Lolly, check some of the companies that are like, okay, I'm going to use my card. I earn some crypto. That's how you can start earning. Now, for business or consultant, get on BTC Pay server setup. Start applying it onto your site. I built I got the shopping, the invoicing section fixed. Start deploying it, start getting the donation, set it up. It is a little of a good, learning curve, because the deployment section is a bit tough because of the node, and you'll understand. But again, learn from that. The next one is, if you don't have a job, if you don't have a bank, you can do cash to crypto. And so gift cards is very popular. ATMs, you can get the tax, go to the ATM. There is a maximum. You don't need to be putting all your savings. Just start investing, start putting money set aside, and you can get into crypto. Or you can get a friend. I don't know, some of you may have gone, when you were in conferences, some people were like, giving coins away, here's some money, can you, hook me up? That's how people got into crypto. So ask a friend. Now, transfer, as you guys said, do not leave your crypto on the exchanges. Put it on your wallet. I recommend cold hardware, non-custodial wallets. And so why crypto? Inflation and devaluation. That's what's happening. But what's happening is, it's happened before. And you guys brought up Black people, don't trust the bank. And it goes back to after the Civil War in the United States, where the Freedmen Savings Bank, so many Black people had put their money in this bank that Lincoln had set up. And after his death, after his assassination, the bank went balloon up, like just completely done. And over $64 million, like completely gone. And majority
it was sabotaged.
Basically. And so this started, it led the path to a lot of Black Americans not wanting to, put their money in bags. And there have been incidents that happened way before that, because in 1797 in London, in England. Again, United States, remember, all North America, Canada, and the United States are colonies, are former, that's what we are, right? And so everything that's happening here happened in Europe. And so this is just the same behavioral pattern. It's just different language that's being used. And so the thing about it is, before we started, we had we had gold. And how did this happen? Wars. So the people of London just didn't understand why Bank of England is giving them this. They called it filthy rags. And turns out once they launched this, there was so much counterfeit. And guess who was targeted every time they found counterfeit on, in possession, like if you had possession of counterfeit money? Guess who? Women and the poor. Obviously, they weren't the ones who were counterfeiting it, but more than likely they were getting it, but not the ones creating it. And so, again, there's a pattern. Right now, I've noticed that a lot of people started using crypto as collateral. And this is the best part. This is the perfect part. You can use it as collateral. You can obtain loans. You can, get a mortgage in real estate, and you can invest in startups and businesses. This is happening. And so, as I said, we can't be reverting back to past behaviors. And so my takeaway to tell everyone is that earn and spend crypto. You can do that, but do invest. Invest in what you understand. Notice I didn't bring up altcoins. I do love altcoins, but I prefer certain projects. So you have to do a lot of research. You can't just go in and just like, oh, Dogecoin, Elon Musk just tweeted, I'm going to put all my money into Dogecoin. No, don't do that. It's a joke, right? And so we have to learn, unlearn, and relearn, and we have to hold ourselves accountable. And I'm holding myself accountable. And this is another thing I'm noticing too. Screw FOMO, fear of missing out. I'm noticing that people are like, I need to get in crypto. I need to buy Doge. And it's like, no, first research. Be patient. It's okay to be a shrimp. It's okay. You have time, but you have good time. Just research.
You're in the ocean. That's all you need to do. You gotta be in the ocean. You can't be on the beach.
In the ocean. Exactly. And so that's really what I have for you all. And again, I think I don't know if you had covered all of these. I'm assuming you did, and some more or less, but that's what I've been noticing in the space, and where we have to kind of take a step back and see whether or not this is right, because if we're saying we want inclusion, but you're steering people into another area, nothing's gonna change. Nothing's gonna change.
And that's all about conscious consumerism. We are trying to make the consumer very much aware of what's going on, but they themselves have their own, like you said, their own standard. Just like how we define privacy, each individual has their own ability to kind of look at this and say, this is something I want to learn about, invest in, do whatever, they feel. But there are certain things, like I personally have these conversations all the time, not only from the tech perspective, but from the business side, or people coming to me and saying, how do I get in crypto? I purposely don't, tell people to go to Coinbase. I tell them about the alleged disenfranchisement that they've had 60 people leave them. And I'm like, again, you can make that decision. I'll give them the article, but I said, I don't recommend it. I don't use it for that purpose because I just don't feel comfortable with giving somebody that information. And again, where our dollars go now are very important. because those dollars do turn into our crypto, which is again our fuel. So we have to understand, just because, oh, it seems like this is a great exchange, you still have to understand where that money is going, not only to you, but to whom. That makes a really big difference, specifically in this space, because we're seeing a lot of rug pulls. We're seeing a lot of people doing nefarious things targeted towards our community because of the things that they know we want. We want that fast money. They really rely on us just kind of going, okay, give me a 4-sentence explanation, and we give it to them and it sounds razzle dazzle and it's great, and that's how we get hooked. We have to understand that the education is important. Like, you're going to have to slow down, and I know that's not what most people want to hear, because as soon as I say that, they get all flustered, like, just tell me how to do it. I'm like, I can't tell you how to do it. There are preconditions to this before we set it up, just like the car. You don't give somebody the keys to the car who cannot drive.
You have to train.
Yeah, and you're not even allowed to go by yourself. You got to have somebody in the car with you. That's what happens. And I think we're moving, that FOMO is causing a lot of really that energy that happens, like, oh, I need to know right now. And it doesn't matter if I don't understand everything, just let me in. You have to do it the way that it's supposed to be. And I think that's where we're missing a lot of these pieces. So this presentation is right on point, because I have this exact conversation several times a day with individuals having this, like, just tell me, just tell me, just do it. I'm like, I can't give you that information. You have to start with the prerequisites, and you can't bypass them. It's like, this is how you have to do it. And that becomes kind of a deterrent sometimes. And there's enough people that will help them do the thing that they shouldn't do, rather than the people who are helping them try to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I really like the question that you asked about how good are you with keeping up with your passwords. So the other question I would ask is, if you get hit by the proverbial bus, what mechanism do you have to let your non-crypto family know that they shouldn't just throw away your Trezor wallet, right? That is actually money in it. And,
let me help you with that.
Mm-hmm.
If you do lose that Trezor wallet, but you have backed the private keys, back the seeds by writing it down, putting it somewhere else. Like, if you have like the key management system, like I showed you, that little seed, that can recover it. If you lose that, the thing is, people forget that the crypto is not on the wallet itself. It's in the blockchain. So the wallet is just a way for you to access.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like the cloud. Businesses, contents are in cloud servers. So if the place goes belly up or burned down, everything is in the cloud. So it's not, as long you have those keys set up elsewhere, then you should be okay. Like, if you lose it, because I'm glad you brought that up, because
because it's important for people to think about that. Like, my mother despises everything crypto, right? However, I'm like, okay, but if something happens to me, I have this one little space and I have this big note on it saying, if something happens to me, bring this piece of paper to this specific person and they will know what to do with it. And it's a person that she trusts immensely with that. Like, I'm just bringing up another scenario as well that I think a lot of people don't think about, as we're doing this crypto inheritance. Yes, Talisha.
Yes.
There's already systems there's software that is already for that management to be done. And again, they're using the same technology where they're using a blockchain. So you have to provide a will or a death certificate, I should say.
That's what I was about to say.
It actually won't release the funds until you give them some information that's valid and from a reputable place. So there are things that are in place. I just think, again, we're just so interested in getting it that you don't even think about what the next step and the next step and the next step. And it is something that you really have to think about, in phases and iterations rather than just like, let's let me get some and then I'll figure everything out. It's not that kind of thing. That does require some kind of preparatory planning before you get into it.
And
Yeah.
it's the same thing with in the traditional finance, right? A loved one, a love of mine passed away around right after I spoke to you. And I remember his finances were all over the place. His finances were in different countries, different cities. And to this day, his sister is trying to still find like accounts that he had. And so what has happened, that's happening in traditional, finance too. And so that's why I'm glad you brought up a living will.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened to me. That's another thing why you guys didn't see me often the whole, the 2020 really as much, is because I had some health issues that I had to deal, not related to COVID, but a near death experience, right? And so it was handled, but I had to go for surgery. But this was a very invasive surgery, and I had to set up, like, my cousin thought I was crazy. I had to set up a will. I had crypto, I had investments, passwords. And so she thought I was insane. So I was like, this is what you're going to get. This is what you're going to use. This is the primary password to access this. You're not going to die. You're not going to die. But I created a will. And this is what's so important. Many people don't do that. They don't do that in current traditional sense. And it's going to be so vital to do so when blockchain progresses into our lives.
Oops.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No,
Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm all set. I'm done with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question, Bettina, because you mentioned something early that really, I just honed in on that point, and you talked about, of course, KYC, AML. We understand the regulation that's in place, but you talked about, and I think Talisha put in digital disenfranchisement. So I wanted, like, do you remember at the end of last year where former Treasury Secretary Mnuchin was looking to introduce that law where all wallets, all ledger wallets or whatever, they would interact with these exchanges. The exchange would have to have that person's name, phone number, address, like all this. Like that was so like, I mean, the problems that would have caused if that had went through. And I say that for all of us to understand. Of course, he's no longer the Treasury Secretary, but it doesn't mean that law won't be. Someone else might try to push it through, but you might speak on that a little bit, because it was really, I mean, you could just see a mountain of problems.
Oh, yeah.
That could arise from something like that.
I mean, this is so funny. Like, I'm glad you brought that up. Some people have asked me why I have one name. I do believe people should have a pseudo, like, be like BTC, be like Bitcoin, pseudonymous, because there's so much information on us that turns out a lot of people actually, because of technology, because of the internet, more people have had their identity stolen. Children, even if they don't target you, they find your kids, your next kin, if they have good credit. Oh, I'm going to take their social security. I'm going to take their information. Kids are like number one, big time target. And so this is one of my issues with Libra. They have so much information on users through the years, right? That it can potentially, it's not potentially, I could see it a million miles away that hackers will find many ways to abuse this. if this thing goes through, which I don't believe it will, but they may change it into something else where it becomes a tokenized and then, yeah. But I'm glad you brought that up because privacy is so vital that we take it for granted. And I saw I should have shown you guys this poster, there was an image that was taken in Birmingham that says, in the future, everyone's gonna want privacy for 15 minutes.
That is so true.
Now everybody wants to be famous. Me, I'm not.
Keep the fame.
Yeah, if we have the fame. But in the future, it's becoming a luxury. And I remember when I worked for this, so because I worked at Lehman Brothers, I remember when we had, sometimes when there was a major, a player coming in, was onboarded into Neuberger Berman. Neuberger Berman was a sister company of Lehman Brothers. And I remember this guy had like buttload of money, right? Coming in, we had to, prepare all of the documents, everything, right? Analysts were getting ready. And I remember they gave him a tour. I'm like, why are he giving the words a tour? And looking back on it, it was a way for him to see who was handling his investment. Security was a big thing, right? And, the wealthy, first thing they ask, what is your security system is like? What kind of experience am I going to get? Am I going to be able to, pick up the phone and, get you on the call, right? And so these are very important information, right? We are down here in the lower, we don't get that kind of treatment, right? And so we're target, and right now in the United States, it's like this whole idea of data is oil, data is king. And I'm like, I believe that we should be asking users how we should be using their data.
Correct. Yeah.
And what kind of data they want. There was a time when, businesses did not just go ahead and, because it's online, you can just do whatever you want. And that data, just because you see it, does not necessarily mean it's fact.
It's useful. I think that's the point. And we're trying to, again, I think this is where evolution has happened. We entered the age of information not knowing its capacity. So
not knowing the context.
Right. We just gave it because it's like, okay, well, I don't know, just give it. And now we have this surplus and we can never revert back. So now we have to have interim systems. And that's where zero knowledge protocols come in. Because we can't forget that we have it. We're never going to ignore it. But now we need to manipulate it in a way that serves the individual as well as the company or whoever parties are involved. So that's where we can't, like I said, we're never going to be like, oh, I know what your social security number is. Everybody in the world knows what your social security number is, but you don't need to use it ever again.
Yeah.
If I can prove that I'm me, you don't need that.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing as Sonia. So like, if I give you access for that moment in time, it's just for that moment in time. Afterwards, you don't like this. There's no
longer perpetual data.
You have 5 minutes to
It's just like our passwords. They give you those little emails like, this is only good for the next 15 minutes.
That's exactly it.
We're using that and we're getting people trained to understand there's a time sensitivity to what you have access to. Those little things are not just random. People are like, oh, I never saw that before. But now when you reset your password, you have 15 minutes. You have 10 minutes to actually use the code that they've sent you because it's regenerating purposely because they don't want to store the data. They're caching that data out and they want you to take action at that time so that you can utilize whatever else. And that's like, I think it's a stair-stepping way to get people involved in this. This is how we're going to transact pretty soon. Everything that you do. Because again, if I give you my public key, I may say, you got 15 minutes to give me my money or else I back out of the deal.
Exactly.
So we're trying these mechanisms out in smaller increments But these are the things that I think from the tech perspective, as you're saying, we're having those conversations because we have to build these systems with all of this stuff already in place. So we just can't build it the way we want to. We have to build around some of these nuances that are the old system. We can't get rid of the old system, so we have to incorporate. And this is the integration that we're trying to do now.
Yeah, and if I may, we have 10 minutes left. Talisha, I know you had, by hook or crook, some questions. We also have a question here in YouTube, and I want to make sure that we get to them.
Go ahead with the YouTube, because I'll get to the yes. I'll take
okay.
it a little
So the question is from Tripolar in YouTube. Is it safe to KYC with multiple crypto exchanges? So this is when you were talking about us giving all of our data to Coinbase.
So repeat.
Is it safe to KYC with multiple crypto exchanges?
No, I mean, like, I'm kind of confused. What does that mean? Like, are you saying that individuals, or is that what they're asking?
Yes, basically they're at, go ahead, Talisha.
I'm saying, I think they're saying, do you want to do that? And that's really on you. If you are going to give it, because you can't get on the exchange. If you want to use that exchange, that's all the mechanism you have. That's one of those things right now. You either have to do it and give them the information, or you won't be able to use the exchange. There isn't a way to do it. And I always say, we're having this conversation about VPNs. VPNs are very dangerous because I can still track you.
Yeah.
Through VPN, so don't do it.
Well, this is another thing. I didn't include any exchanges that doesn't allow KYC, that just don't collect KYCs, but they do exist. Again, it's just being mindful on who these companies are, because just because you investing your money and you want to trade and they don't have your information, that's fine and dandy, but you also have to keep in mind, okay, are these exchanges safe? You know, do you own your keys, your keys, and are you able to verify? Again, there are, exchanges that are about decentralization, that all about, self-sovereignty. But, there's a couple of them out there. I will say, just research and look for them. I do know Andreas Antonopoulos had a segment on crypto exchanges that do not accept KYC, that just doesn't collect KYC. But again, for the US users, again, there may be, that because of the laws, because of the regulatory laws. So you also have to check that.
Yeah, we are strapped here in the US. I mean, that's one of those things. There are many exchanges that are international that don't have that regulation put upon them. And that's why we're, as Americans, we are trying to use VPNs to bypass that part. But at the same time, a VPN can be tracked as well. So I know a lot of people used to use Binance, and when Binance shut us out, and they were like, oh, I could just hop on something else. And like, we can still track you. I don't think people really understand that. And yes, I understand some people just use VPNs as their mode on the internet. Some people like, it's called a virtual private network. Some people just like that buffer in between them, and that's fine. But you have to also be very cautious of when you're using it, in what capacity, because that could be looked upon, even if you're not trying to do something fraudulent. They can tell you if you're trying to get on an US exchange or an exchange where you're not permitted to be on, even if you're using your VPN, they can come back and sue you for that.
And also it could hurt it's hurt a lot of businesses.
Yes, Coinbase is one of them.
Yeah, Coinbase is one of them. And I feel, from what I understand, what's his name? Oh my goodness, what's his name? BitMEX. Seems like, yes, this seems to be Arthur Hayes situation where people may have used VPNs. You're not really sure if they are, overseas or in the US. And so it does hurt businesses who are trying to, provide exchanges and options. Again, I'm not saying it's wrong, KYCs is wrong. It's just, I do think that there should be this level of understanding that, okay, as you brought up, if I'm going to give you this information for this time period and you've identified me, that should be it. That should be it. Remove it and that's it. So that's really what should be happening. But that's because there's so much information out there of individuals. It's easy for anyone to do anything they want. Any questions?
Talisha, you're up.
Oh, okay. My daughter, again, is studying UI UX. And so she wanted to know, what coursework would you suggest for her to concentrate in? What are you seeing right now? But I've told her the same thing. But again, if you say it, it's going to be gold. So
what did you say? Which one?
What do you recommend as you're saying right now? What do you recommend, and what are you seeing in the industry that needs help in the UI UX space?
I think she needs to focus. You're going to see a lot of businesses, again, continuing on in regards to the visual sense, okay, for them, they're like, they've conflated UI with UX. UI is just part of UX, as I've said before. UX is going beyond the UI, and so there's already, if you have seen some of those concepts with augmented reality where you can type on, projectors, or may not projectors. Imagine, you can like speak and you get, the information being done right in your head. Neuralink could do that at some point. I don't know, but but you got to think beyond the UI, because that's where it's going. Augmented reality, voice, is a major one. Again, I brought up accessibility. There's a huge problem in the space where a lot of businesses are not adhering to web accessibility. Just a perfect example, Citibank, just lost 999 million. And people have said they have, what was it? They accused the subcontractor in India of messing up and sending money to Revlon. It was basically Citibank is the credit. It was helping, is the person, the group that pays the Revlon's creditors. And so one of the subcontractor accidentally sent $999 million. But he was supposed to send about 1.8 million. I don't know how that was possible. And so the court said, well, sorry, you don't need to, you can't, you don't need, you're not going to get it back, Citi. Sorry, you lost it. You lost 500 million. So that was it. Why I'm bringing this up is, if you see the Flex box, that's the interface that they use, which is some Oracle system. It's so dated, and these old systems still exist, and they haven't fixed at all. And so look into, those kinds of, dated systems. Now, I don't know about CBDB, but we're in talks with a client that is wanting to do a CBDB. So that's an opportunity. But study, do research. User research is a major one. Behavioral science, behavioral design. That's a big one. So if you can tap into that and understand that, you'll be all set. And you can go anywhere. So it's not just in tech. It can be industrial. So think about smart cities, because smart city is going to be the biggest thing. So environmental, think about that.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Save me from
Great.
trouble.
So you can take this little snippet and give it to your daughter.
She spoke to you. It's, again, same thing I said, but someone else says it. When mom says it, it doesn't mean as much.
It doesn't mean anything when mom says it. Yes. All right, everybody. Well, we are at the end of our time. We want to thank Bettina for being our special guest today. Next week is our last blockchain chat. So we're going to have a surprise topic. Surprise for me as well as for all of you, because I don't know what it is yet, but hey, it's going to be good, right? And don't forget again, Monday, if you are a member, a paid member of BBC, then Monday, the Deloitte consulting guy, Brendan, is coming. Specifically, he wants to meet Black people in the blockchain space, and there may be some recruiting going on. So either wear your Sunday best or some business casual if you're trying to make a real impression. And it will be a meeting and not a webinar. So prepare to be on camera. He wants to see your faces. He wants to network with you. He'll give us some information about what Deloitte is doing in the blockchain space. And I've asked him to let everybody, as long as we don't have a lot of people in there, let everybody talk for like 2 sentences and just tell him who you are and what your major is. So that is happening on Monday at 7:30 Eastern time. Okay. Thank you so much, Bettina, for being here. Talisha, Eric, do you have any final comments?
No, I just want to tell Bettina, thank you so much for taking the time. It was great.
You're welcome. Thank
Really.
you. Thank you.
Yes, and even people are saying awesome in YouTube as well. So thank you so much, everybody, and we will see you all next.
One thing, I will be putting this info in the new website. So we're continuing to build that new website. So if you need that, if you love the presentation, keep a lookout for it at bettymedia.com.
Thank you so much. All right.